Land ho! I see land ho! Ah, we have reached our destination. Ah, home sweet home. Yes, home is where it's at. Sailing on the seas, grand adventure. But nothing comes to place like home. And you know the funny thing is, the Straw Hats themselves, they have homes. They have homes in the One Piece world. They really do. However, it's not just in the One Piece world. Believe it or not, the Straw Hats have homes even in our world. I mean, not like homes like in buildings that they live in and stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. If the Straw Hats ever come into the real world and stuff like that, and they knock on my front door, or it's like, you damn right I'm going to be letting them in. It's like, are you kidding me? What kind of a One Piece fan out there who loves One Piece meets the Straw Hats coming out of the Oda manga story world that they live in to our world, and they start knocking on your front door? Are you really going to be telling them to get lost? No, you have to be the most craziest person in the world, all right? Especially if Nami and Robin's there, right? You don't do that to Nami and Robin, all right? Matter of fact, you don't do that to any hot One Piece girl or on the One Piece world, right? It doesn't matter who it is. It's like that. If you find that person attractive and beautiful, and it's like, if that's your favorite character, you do not push them away. Okay, all right. So you're probably asking and wondering, what is this video, right? What is the basics of this video, right? Alright, so what I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm going to be giving sort of my general thoughts and sort of predictions and theories on where I believe Carrot and Yamato could be represented in the real world, alright? So take, for instance, all the Straw Hats basically have their own nationality and stuff like that. So if they were set in the real world, where would be their nationality? Like, where would they be from, right? That's basically what this is, right? And I'm going to basically be giving my general thoughts and sort of predictions on where I sort of believe Yamato and Carrot could be, or from necessarily. Now, keep in mind that these are just basically predictions, thoughts, and theories. It doesn't necessarily mean 100% factual that they will be true. It doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be true. It's just a general thought and theory, all right? So keep that in mind, all right? That's basically what this is. Okay, so now before I get into it, before I actually get into the full context of it like that, I wanna list off the current Straw Hats right now, where we do know where their nationality is from necessarily. Now, keep in mind that some of these nationalities that Oda gave to us, he didn't exactly give like any like real specific answers completely. So it's kind of like there's some missing points to it and stuff like that. So Luffy is from Brazil. Zoro is from Japan and stuff like that. So obviously Oda chose Zoro to represent his home continent and stuff like that, Japan. Nami is from Sweden. Usopp is from Africa, which Africa is actually a continent and not a country. So we don't actually know what part of Africa exactly, like which Africa or what part of Africa exactly, just Africa itself. So it's I don't know how else to say it. Sanji is from France. Chopper is from Canada. Robin is from Russia. Frankie is from America. So Frankie basically lives in my state. Well, not my state. I mean, he lives in the U.S. where I live. I am in the United States. I'm actually in Kansas. I live in Kansas. So kind of makes you wonder, which state does Frankie live in? You know, I would really like to know which state Frankie lives in. Jinbei is Indian. I mean, I'm gonna skip Brooke. Brooke is from Austria. Now, I should keep in mind that, remember, Brooke is from Austria, not Australia, all right? So sometimes you might get those confused. Like, you might, anyone out there who is not really familiar with things like that, Austria and Australia are two different places and stuff like that. So, but keep in mind, Brooke is from Austria. Jinbei is Indian. Vivi, it's never been officially stated where Vivi's at necessarily. However, her Alabasta kingdom where she lives is sort of inspired by India and Egypt and stuff like that. And since Jinbei has already been like referred to as an Indian and stuff like that for nationality, I'm gonna basically assume Egypt for Vivi. So I'm gonna assume that Egypt is probably the best place for Vivi necessarily. Now that just leaves Carrot and Yamato as to two other candidate Straw Hats that I want to go over and stuff like that. Now, keep in mind, there are a lot of One Piece characters in the One Piece world that have actually been giving nationalities on where they would be from necessarily. Like, what would be their nationality, all right? So where would they be from? So after going over that, so let's get into it, shall we? So I think the first thing we should do is by basically... So really, the best thing we should do at this moment is basically get a plane ticket, right, So go out there and get your plane ticket, right? All right, got your plane ticket, all right. And what we're gonna have to do, or better yet, if you don't like heights, you can always sail the seas like Luffy and his crew, right? That's fine by me. Sailing on the seas is just as fine. And we're going to have to travel around the world in not 80 days, all right? Because look, keep in mind, I can't record this video for 80 long days, all right? I just cannot do that, all right? So look, I'm sorry. I know a lot of people are probably watching this will probably say, "Oh yes, he's gonna record a video for 80 days." Yes, and it's like no. So let's go around the world in not 80 days, okay? I cannot do that. Okay. So Yamato and Carrot. Yamato and Carrot are my two favorite non-female. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like other non-Straw Hat female characters like that, right? So it's not like I necessarily hate any character, but like Carrot and Yamato are my two primary favorite female candidates to become Straw Hat members. I feel like they are worthy of it. They have honor, and respect to become Straw Hats and stuff like that. They have proven in that they sort of proven to us, the audience itself, that they would be just greatly perfect for the story in any way with no set in mind to try and convince us otherwise and stuff like that. Like, sure, there are some One Piece fans out there who are not necessarily convinced and stuff like that, and that's fine if they don't want to change their opinions. But to some of the general audiences who have accepted it, they see it as a potential right thing. It's like they've earned our honor or to basically be crew members and stuff like that. All right, so nationalities for Yamato and Carrot. So I'll do Yamato first, and then we'll move into Carrot. Okay. All right. So Yamato necessarily. All right. So where would Yamato be from? Like, what would be her nationality? There are some things to look at in general. So for some of the Straw Hats, it's like you have to probably think necessarily like, okay, do we look at like say like their styles and stuff like that, like their home village and stuff like that? Do we see like inspiration from like their home towns and home villages and stuff like that? At like like their hometowns for inspiration from them. In a way, that's true, but not necessarily, because not all the Straw Hats are basically where their hometown is inspired at does not necessarily mean that the Straw Hat themselves is basically represented there, right? Take for instance Frankie. Frankie is a good example of this, right? Keep in mind that Frankie was stated to be from America, so Frankie would be an American, all right? He would be from America, the United States of America, okay? However, where the Straw Hats first meet Frankie, right? Where they basically meet Frankie and stuff like that was during like the Water 7 to Enies Lobby arc and stuff like that. That's where they basically meet Frankie and stuff like that. And you see, Water 7 itself is basically inspired by Venice, all right? It's the entire town is basically inspired by Venice and stuff like that. So there's that. You can look at Nami as an example, right? Nami would be stated to be from Sweden, all right? So Nami from Sweden. However, Hokiashi Village is basically inspired by Indonesia. At least that's what it says in the One Piece Ruru 1000 logbook, and I'll have a link to that certain book and stuff like that. It's basically One Piece 1000 log guide that basically sort of gives general it sort of gives us details on like certain worlds, islands in the One Piece world, and basically where they are basically inspired at in the real world. So I'll have a link to it so you can check that out if you need to and stuff like that. So there will be a link to that, I promise. Okay, so Yamato in general, like what could be her nationality and stuff like that? Where could she be from? Well, when Yamato was first introduced, it was because of how Yamato dresses and her basic goals and what she is and stuff like that. Some fans out there basically sort of predict and state that she basically beat Japan and stuff like that. Now, I don't necessarily think that this is like, no, keep in mind, if Oda, like I should mention, none of the Straw Hats so far have been represented by one of the same areas and stuff like that. I mean, they've been sort of represented as close in terms of like, say for instance, like the same continent altogether, but not necessarily the exact same country altogether, right? So some of them, like just because like they take place in like North America and stuff like that. Take for instance, Chopper and Frankie, right? Frankie would say to be from the U.S., from the United States. Chopper is from Canada, right? They're basically in the North America scene, it's like that. So they're not very far apart. All right. So basically, like just because they don't like, it doesn't matter if they're on like the same continent in general, but it's basically like it feels like they each have to be represented by their own place, right? Now keep in mind there are a lot of places on this earth that has not been chosen yet for each dryad, right? Like you'd have to probably think and imagine like if each like for instance um does anyone remember that video series that Tekken did and it's like that? So if anyone is familiar with the YouTuber Tekken 101, he basically made video series and stuff like that like what if the Straw Hats got a crew member from each island that they visit and stuff like that. So imagine a scenario with that where the Straw Hats basically got a crew member from each area, each basically island land that has livable people on it. It's like that. If they visited every island and where that person would be from, that would be insane. All right, that would be a very very large step. So Yamato in general. So some people basically suggest like places like Japan is like that. I don't think this necessarily gives a good arguments like that. So I'll try my best. I'm not a big fan of Japan, and like look, I'm not saying I hate Japan necessarily. All right, that's not what I'm saying. All right, we already have a Straw Hat representing Japan with Zoro, okay? And you see, I like it better when each of the Straw Hats are basically chosen to represent their own nationality, like where they'd be from. And the fact that so far, like out of all the 10 Straw Hats that we have now, it's like that. You know, it's basically stating and seeing that in this moment, and the fact that of the 10 we got so far, not one of them are basically each like all 10 of them basically have their own unique place where they be from. So I would see no doubt in my mind that if we were to get like say like two more after this or even three more, because Vivi Vivi is basically stated to actually be a member, but she's not actually sailing with the crew right now. So that would basically be like three potential Straw Hats to come forward in the future. And I got no doubt in my mind that if these three were to join, they would definitely get their own place. Now, why do a lot of people assume Japan for Yamato and stuff like that? Some people basically might refer to Japan necessarily as being is because Yamato has sort of been inspired by Odin and stuff like that. The fact that she ate the Oguchi no Mikami, which is basically a guardian of Wano devil fruit and stuff like that. It's basically the guardian of Wano. And Wano is basically heavily inspired by Japan itself. It's sort of the main reason why everyone is giving. However, we have to sort of explain something and understand something, okay? So this is very important to understand. Well, two basic things. Number one, just because you eat something ain't from necessarily really from a different continent or country or whatever, does not mean that you are part of that culture and stuff like that, okay? So just because Yamato ate a fruit that grew on Wano does not necessarily make her or Wano itself, right? That's literally not how it works, okay? So I don't think Yamato is basically Japan, okay? And another thing to point out is that during her fight with Kaido even mentioned and told us that Yamato, you are not from Wano. It's like that. You basically need to stop defending and start fighting for these people. Well, they are not your people. So I can see that as a good point of view and basically telling us in the face that Yamato is not Japan. It's like that. So I see that as a good point of view. So where could Yamato be at? Like, what could be some good ideas? Well, you can look at her father, Kaido, in general, okay? So one inspiration from Kaido that a lot of people are basically thinking where he could be from is China, okay? Because basically Kaido is basically depicted as a dragon. His dragon is basically depicted as sort of a Chinese dragon, like that. But there are a lot of places, right? So it'd be hard to really determine the exact place on like where it should be at represented from. But I do have a general thought and idea, okay? And basically, the way I have to do this, I'm going to have to do a bit of a spoiler here. So, there is going to be a bit of a spoiler. It's not going to be very long, but it will be a spoiler. I do apologize, but there is a spoiler moment. So if you have not read the recent chapter of 1049, it's like that, the one where we had a Kaido flashback, then you're going to have to either try and fast forward on the video a little bit until you get to the right place that you need to be. All right, so here we go. Okay, so in chapter 1049 of One Piece, during the Kaido flashback, we got a moment where it's real to us where Kaido basically grew up, okay? And Kaido basically grew up in the Vodka Kingdom, all right? So Vodka Kingdom, all right? Now, the interesting thing about this necessarily vodka is that here in our world, vodka itself has three main places of origin, okay? So it's like, in matter of fact, it's basically stated to not really be exactly sure like where it actually originated from first. It seems to be up to debate and stuff like that. Most people basically suggest Russia, and who knows? Like, I have no way to know that for sure, but that's aside from the point. However, we already have a straw hat representing Russia, and that would be Robin, okay? Now, you're probably thinking, okay, well, where are the other two places that vodka is represented from? The other two are basically Sweden and, let's see, what was the other one? Poland. Sweden and Poland. Now, we already have a straw hat representing Sweden, and that would be Nami. So we have Nami from Sweden and Robin from Russia. That just leaves Poland, all right? So you can see Poland as being a good thought, and sort of it's sort of a good thought and sort of a good theory, basically suggesting that, okay, if, say for instance, if Kaido actually comes from Vodka Kingdom, then maybe we can see this as a good point to basically point out that Yamato herself is also from the Vodka Kingdom as well. I don't think it was necessarily stated. Like I think we were never given a full statement on where Yamato was born. I think it was given like where she was born in the terms of the sea. Like where at the sea, but I don't think it was necessarily given completely, like where she was born at completely. Like so, so yeah. So since we do know for a fact that Kaido is from Vodka Kingdom, like that, and the fact that we already have two straw hats representing two places of origin where vodka comes from, with Sweden and Russia, that just leaves Poland. So I'm going to suggest Poland for Yamato. Oh, so and keep in mind there are plenty of other places in the world where you can basically represent her from. And it's like really like hard to know for sure. You can probably do things like Colombia, um, Venezuela, Argentina, Mongolia. So many places. So many places. But yeah, so I'm going to suggest Poland. All right, so Poland is basically the place I'm going to choose for Yamato. And keep in mind, I have no way to determine that that's actually going to be true, or it could be completely wrong. But that's the place I'm going to suggest for Yamato. So, hey, if you like Poland as an example, or my basically general thought on it, please leave a comment down below and let me know where you think Yamato's nationality be. If you do believe that she is from Japan and stuff like that, feel free to let me know your thoughts and on reasons why that is. All right, so now let's move on to Carrot. Now, for Carrot, when I was first coming up with ideas for Carrot on her nationality, one thing I thought of myself is I thought to look up Carrots in general. Okay, so I'm not talking about Carrot the character, or I'm talking about Carrot as in herself. All right, not Carrot as herself. I mean Carrot as in the things she likes to eat. All right, carrots, the vegetables. One of the first things that popped in my mind was thinking like, okay, well, what if I choose a place for Carrot to represent an area that is known for growing the most carrots, right? And for Carrot herself, that would basically be a match made in heaven, right? She would probably love that a lot. But every step of the way, my mind kept thinking of something else, and I just kept thinking to myself, okay, I need to think of something good. And then I thought of something. You see, I began thinking like, okay, well, maybe instead of just representing Carrot herself, I should look at the minks in general, like something that can really best benefit the minks in general. Okay, so keep in mind, I should mention like the minks area is Zoe and stuff like that. Now Zoe has a lot of inspiration from other places and stuff like that. So take for instance the elephant Zunisha. Right, Zunisha has two basically inspirations. Right, one inspiration is from, I believe it's in Iceland and stuff like that. That is basically called Elephant Rock and stuff like that. He's also inspired by this painting. I don't know the painter's names like that, but there's basically this painting with two elephants with like really really long legs and stuff like that. Which, to be honest, the painting kind of creeps me out sometimes. But that painting kind of creeps me out. Okay. So, going over it. So, did I ever come up with an idea? Like, where do I think Carrot could be represented from? Like, what would be your nationality? And I did sort of come up with a general idea. I started to come up with an idea. And, see, the way I started to do this was basically look at the minks and Wano together. We know Wano is basically heavily inspired by Japan, okay? So, and we know the minks have always been like an ally, or like a trustworthy, had sort of like a trustworthy friendship ever since the minks and the Kozuki clan have ever met. They've always remained as good friends, okay? That's how it's always been. So to me, in general, I began thinking to myself, okay, well, what if I do that? What if I choose the minks to basically represent a part of the world that is basically one of Japan's greatest allies, okay? Now keep in mind, there are a lot of places in the world that have sort of made like good friendships with Japan itself. So it's not like necessarily every place on the entire earth has problems with Japan and stuff like that. Like, sure, there are some places that do have problems, but it's not like necessarily every place is like an enemy and stuff like that. So they made good friends with other places around the world. Like we've even made good friends with Japan and stuff like that. In order for everyone to stay like on everyone's good side, in order to not to cause conflicts, not to go into like insane wars and cause casualties and stuff like that. So that was basically my general thought. Like, so that's basically the inspiration I thought I'd look for, is that Carrot and all the minks should be represented by a part of the world that is basically an ally to Japan, and it's basically sort of always been an ally to Japan ever since they were first stated. Now, my initial thought and idea, like when I basically came to it, and I was thinking to myself, and I decided to basically stick to like the Asia continents where Japan is from. Japan is in the Asia continents and stuff like that, and I was thinking to myself, and looking up, like trying to look up all the best places that is known to have the highest ratio in Asia, in the Asia continents, where Japan has the most qualified memberships and stuff like that, or like the best allies and stuff like that. And some of the places I came across that in terms of like the highest lists and stuff like that, you have take for instance the Philippines. The Philippines is one of the highest ones. You have Malaysia. Malaysia is one. Australia is also one of the highest places and stuff like that. And then you also have Indonesia. I actually chose Indonesia. Now you're probably watching this video and you're probably thinking, why Indonesia? Like, why did you choose Indonesia? Well, I have 3 maybe more good reasons, 2 big good reasons, and maybe some small bonus ones. Okay, so why Indonesia? Well, the first thing I want to represent is this. Okay, so let's look at all the minks in general. Okay, so the minks are basically fur-covered humanoid animals and stuff like that. So minks are basically fur-covered humanoid animals and stuff like that. That's what basically they are. You won't see anything with rough skin, like say like alligators, lizards, snakes. You won't see any of those. All right. If they have fur, then they are basically a mink. It's like that. Believe it or not, Indonesia, from what I can understand from what the research I've gotten, Indonesia has the highest, is basically the highest in terms of like population of mammals and stuff like that. Most minks that you see most minks were basically represented by mammals and stuff like that, by part of the mammalian kingdom and stuff like that. So Indonesia has the highest ratio on that. I should also point out that Indonesia is actually the third highest in terms of like its rainforest, that has the most populations in the classes of the kingdoms and stuff like that. Like the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, like the fish kingdom and stuff like that. Brazil is actually number 1, and then I believe Australia is second, and then Indonesia should be third. However, Indonesia is the highest when you're referring to mammals themselves. So when you're referring to the mammals, Indonesia is basically first in that. That they have the most of any kind of mammal species in their rainforest. So now there's more I want to go over to in this area. Okay, so more I want to add to this. All right, so one thing I want to basically add is like that. Looking at the general, the word mammal and stuff like that. The word mammal is basically derived from Latin, which basically is derived from a Latin word for meaning breast and stuff like that. Carrot, she's got some damn fine ones. Beautiful. You've also got Wanda and Tristan. Gorgeous. Look at Milky. Wonderful. And while we're at it, since this is a Carrot video, let's see Carrot one more time. Let's get another one of Carrot. That's right. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so that's the first main reason why I chose Indonesia. The second thing to go over is this, is that you remember what I said when I first started on the whole Carrot thing. I said I chose to represent a place that is known for being sort of like an ally to Japan, all right? And Indonesia itself is also an ally to Japan, all right? They are one of Japan's greatest allies, one of their strongest allies that they have and things like that. Now, I believe their relationship basically 58, and it's basically sort of remained. I mean, all the way up to this time, it's like that. As far as I can understand, and it's like that. That the relationship still remains intact. So, to me myself, I see Indonesia as sort of the best place, right? And matter of fact, I should mention that there's actually like one of the buildings in the zoo arc and stuff like that. I believe it's the place like after all the strats are reunited and stuff like that, and they went to they met like Dogstorm and Nekomamushi and stuff like that. There was basically that building and stuff like that where everyone gathered around where some of the minks were like resting and recuperating and stuff like that. That place itself seems to be inspired by a building in Indonesia and stuff like that. Now, I did mention some other bonus things about Indonesia itself. Well, I would like to mention, take for instance, like, Nami's home island, Kokiashi Village, is basically inspired by Indonesia. At least that's what it says in the One Piece logbook. And thinking about it in general, using Carrot to represent Indonesia, you can also look at it like this, and it's like, okay, what does Nami and the minks have in general? They both were used to represent lightning for their attacks and stuff like that. I mean, sure, they don't necessarily have to be on the same wavelength or same scale or same power level, no, but they're both basically representing electricity kind of thing. So, and since Nami's home island is basically inspired by Indonesia, and since most of the minks in general, with Carrot also not being any exception or greater or higher, or the fact that she also uses electro or basically like electricity based attacks for fighting, and choosing her to represent Indonesia would also be a good point to choose to represent her as a good way to look at Nami in general, or for like a good aspect of it. And Indonesia is also a place that none of the strides are basically represented from. So overall, those are my two main places for Carrot and Yamato. Yamato for Poland and Carrot from Indonesia. Now keep in mind, there are a lot of places on the world and stuff like that where Carrot could actually be from, and the same thing for Yamato itself. Like take for instance, like you could who knows, like maybe who knows, maybe Madagascar for Carrot and stuff like that. Like imagine if Carrot or Fall the Minks just went to Madagascar and stuff like that, and all of a sudden Carrot Eric just started saying like, I like to move it, I like to move it, I like to move it. Because I don't think I would have any problem with that. I mean, if that's the case, I think it's like, okay. But yeah, a lot of great places. And it's really hard to determine where, and to be honest, whatever Oda chooses, that's really the best thing we can go forward. And, the funny thing is, the world is big. It's really big. And there are a lot of great options. So it's hard to really determine where, but it's also nice to know when you look at it in general and the strides and basically look at them and sort of get a good idea and example of like why these places are the best areas and like where they were represented, like why it's important, okay? And just like in the One Piece world, all the islands in the One Piece world are like grand adventures for all the strides to visit, right? They're basically like visiting all the islands in the One Piece world is everything. And even in our world, the planet Earth is basically everything. It's not just basically a giant sphere or being like the third planet from the sun. It's a home for all of us. And in the One Piece world, their One Piece Earth is the planet that they live on. It's their home. To quote a line from to basically quote a line that a YouTuber who loves to make a lot of geography videos in One Piece, Teching 101, basically stated something very important. Geography is everything. It really is. Geography is everything. So look, those are my general thoughts. Okay? Those are my thoughts. Those are my predictions. They don't necessarily have to be completely wrong, right? They don't have to be necessarily completely wrong. But that's basically my general thoughts and ideas. Okay, so I chose Poland for Yamato and Indonesia for Carrot. Okay, so So if you like Indonesia and stuff like that, if you feel like it's a good place, please leave a comment down below and let me know. If you have your own general thought and theory on like where you believe Carrot could be represented from, also please let me know. I would love to know. All right, so since this is the end of the video, let's get into the end of it, shall we? Okay, so if you enjoyed the video altogether and stuff like that, you had fun with it, please smash that like button, okay? Also, subscribe to the channel, okay? It helps my channel grow. It helps get the YouTube algorithm going, and it gives me more confidence to know when you people like my videos, and the fact that you subscribe to the channel, it gives me much more confidence and much more determination to try and get these videos going. So I want people to basically believe in me, and I want to be able to see that other people believe in me. Also, like I said, if you have any general thoughts or theories and stuff like that, please leave it down in the comment section below. I'll have certain links to certain things that might help explain my general thoughts and certain things. So overall, that is it for the video. So hey, you all have a great day, and thank you for joining me for this One Piece video. So you all have a great day. Bye now.